Hi, my name is Amber and thank you for trying Lead Gantt. Lead Gantt was born out of sheer necessity. I am actually a real estate developer by profession, and I've spent a number of years trying to reduce the number of tabs that I need to open when I'm managing my projects. So if you wanted to find out more about myself, you can actually visit our website, propertydevelopmentsystem.com. So let's jump into Lead Gantt and see what it can do for you. Lead Gantt has been designed out of sheer necessity, and it is designed with lots of really cool features, as well as lots of features have been omitted because they track away from actually managing your project. So I've got most of the really good features, and we are constantly developing and adding more features to it. So to begin with, it's actually designed in sections. You've got baseline and actual, and I will go into detail with how you can create and all those things with the rest of the video, but this is just a quick at a glance section where I'll just explain the key features for it. So it's designed in different sections. All these blue ones are your sections. You can add them in 5, 10, 15, and 20 row increments. If you've got more rows to add to any of these, you can do that as well by adding rows over here. You can refresh your Gantt by this button. There are masters in there that are hidden away. When you first time you create it, you'll be able to see them and add details for the people responsible, their email addresses, different holidays that are taken into account when these dates are calculated. And you can also link different other lead Gantts that break down a task even further. For example, this is currently linked with another sheet. It's called Lead Gantt Demo 1, and if I click on it, it's a separate task that I'm running in order to bring them in together, but they have their different start dates and end dates, and I can actually pull them together into that one sheet. I could have more than one of these in here. I can easily click on any line where I've got the email address for the responsible person and click on email row, and this will automatically send that email to that person, and it will look like this. So it's got different Gantt chart options where you can select a weekly Gantt or a monthly Gantt and select the changes there. There is no daily Gantt because the weekly Gantt has been designed in a way so that you can see every day as well as the week section in there in one view. That's why the daily Gantt isn't there. And you can email the row, you can link different Gantts, which are right here. And when you click on Start Project, it will start the project in all the link sheets as well as your current sheet, and create another one called Actual, which is when you actually start running the project, or when the project started, because your dates, your start dates and your end dates and the number of work days is actually take to complete that task may vary, and you'll be able to see the start variance, end variance, as well as the workday variance over here. All these red dots at the start of the Gantt section means that this is on a critical path. If it is a milestone, you can mark that as a milestone, and it'll have a black dot at the end of it. That means you reached a milestone. You can create independent updates to the link sheets, and they will then roll back in here as well. Here's another really cool feature. You can also use one of your previously completed projects as a template. So let's say you finished the project and you want to create a brand new project from the start. You can always use pick template, and you can open and point and pick up the previously finished project and use that as a baseline for your new project that you are starting. And one of the last features that it has is really super duper cool, and that is setting up reminders for the people who are actually responsible for that task. So the way that it works is that you click on off. So let's say we want to create a reminder for Amber, and when we select the bell icon, it will open up, and I can either select okay, one day before the start date or the end date, or I can pick a particular date I want the reminder to actually go on. I can then also select the same row that I want to send to that person, CC them as a reminder to the owner, and CC with the reminders to everybody who the sheet has been shared with. So if I click on yes, it will then set up a reminder for me. The only catch with something like this is that you can't be logged into multiple Gmail accounts or G Suite accounts. So over here, you've got to make sure that there is only one account that you are logged into. Otherwise, this will not fire correctly because it would not know which account to use in order to send that email. So the only catch with setting up these reminders is that you are logged into just one account at any given time. Also, these reminders actually go out at 8 o'clock on the actual date when the reminder is set for. So they will go at 8 o'clock in the morning. If you are working in the sheet, you can always use the email row option and it will send that row to that person almost instantly. And you can use that in two different ways. So one is emailing row, or you can set a reminder. And the only catch with that is that make sure that you're only logged in with one account at the time. So let's dive into LeadGantt and see what else it can do for us. So the first time when you actually start LeadGantt, you'll go into your add-ons, LeadGantt Start. And when you start, you'll notice that it actually creates 4 different sheets for you right at the bottom. And you'll see that there is contacts, stages, holidays, and baseline. The first thing that I would suggest that you do is enter the details of the people that you would wanna communicate with in your project. You can put in their details. These are basically resources and their email addresses. So you could have a number of people here, add them, and they will automatically show up in your baseline as well as your budget versus actual. In your stages, you can put in some details about different stages. Let's say stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and so on. You can give it certain descriptions so that they mean something for you. For now, I'll just leave that as it is. And under the holidays tab, you would want to mark the holidays when you would not be working or there'll be a public holiday. So it does come pre-populated with certain dates in there. You can delete them and put in your own details if you want. Once you've done that, you are almost ready. You can click on hide masters and it would actually hide all these 3 sheets. You can bring them up anytime by clicking on the show masters button and you are ready to go. Now, LeadGantt is divided into these different sections. So what these sections are, that are basically all the tasks that fall under a given task. And you can add these sections in different row sizes, for example, 5, 10, 15, 20. So if I was to click on 10, it will add another section of 10 rows in there and automatically number it for me. So this now becomes section number 2 and we have section number 1. So you can, if you, let's say you've got 10 items over here. Let's say we've got task 1.1, task 1.1, and then you've got task 1.2, and you want to do, and let's say from there you've got right all the way till the bottom, you've got 10 tasks over here, and suddenly you realize that you need to add 1 more row of tasks in there, or 5 more rows or 6 more rows to the same section. It's not an issue. You can come in here and put in 2 more rows, and wherever you leave your cursor, it will add 2 more rows of tasks under that as soon as you press the go button. So we'll just press go over here and we'll get 2 tasks over here. Now this column automatically numbers all the tasks, and think of it as task ID. It automatically generates that. If you leave the description section or the task description, which is column number D, if you leave that blank, it will not generate a number there and skip it. So say for example, let's just call it task 1.9A for example. And the moment I'll do that, it will update the task ID for me and give me the updated task details. If I want to add another section right below this, I'll leave my cursor anywhere in this section and then press the 5 button. However, let's say I want to add another section right in the middle of it. For example, if I leave my cursor up and any of the cells selected in the above section and I click on 5, it's going to add that section below this section, so, and renumber all the sections for me. All the subtasks, let's say these are subtasks these numbers get automatically generated for you. If I was to delete this section, all I have to do is select all the rows that belong to that section, right click on that, and I can select delete rows, and it will delete it for me and then renumber everything for me all over again. You don't have to cover all the lines. So let's say I wanted to delete this, leave that blank, and maybe add a little heading in there. So let's say we call it sub heading, and I want to bold that, for example. You can, but when you add that over here, it does get assigned an automatic task ID for that. If you want to change the formatting for this, just go to format, number, and click on automatic, and it will remove that indenting in there for you. You can go Control Z or Command Z, and it can redo that section here for you. Then you can come and put in details about description. You can add reference to, for example, let's say we've got another sheet that I'm using, another Lead Gantt that I'm using somewhere else. I need to link, or it's a checklist for me in order to for that task. I can come in and copy those links over here so that anytime there is something that I need to do or go straight into my checklist that I'm running for that task, I can click on it and get to it straight away. It'll just open that for me in another tab. You can then select the person responsible for it. Their email would pop out over here. You can set reminders, but we'll get to that in a second. And then you can start adding your number of workdays. So right now each number in under the workday column would represent 1 day. So if I put it's going to take me 6 days, that's fine. And then I can just go and select when my start date is going to be. So for example, let's just say I want to start this thing on the 1st of December. So, and all the dates will then start generating automatically. However, if you don't have anything in the workday column, it will not generate the date for it. So let's say each task is going to take 1 day each. There are detailed tutorials for each of these sections, so I'm just going to quickly run you through all of them so that you can get started and start playing with it. And if I was to leave that section, I can go and put in there. Now, let's say I want this task to automatically start the same day as that. I can manually change the start date for this thing and select 1st of December. And anything I change manually would turn blue, telling me that I have put in those details manually. However, if I was to say, let's say this was going to be a task that would take 12 days. So if I put in 12, it will update all the dates for me. And if I leave everything blank and I put another task, it will automatically take the date from the last task when I ended the last task. But however, let's say there is a predecessor to this task 1.8 or the task ID 1007. So if I was to put the predecessor here, it's super easy. Look at the row number for the task that you want to use as the predecessor to this task. So let's say row number 9. So if I put number 9 over here, even though I have manually selected the date for it, it will remove that date and automatically update that section to start after the end of task 9, task in row number 9. So all your predecessor tasks actually work because of that. If I was to add a lag time, which is basically before when it actually ends, there's going to be a lag after this task finishes. So I can put in 3 days for that, and it will automatically update all the dates for me based on the lag that I've just added. Now, by default, it will not include Saturdays and Sundays in this, and all the holidays that you entered in the holiday section. So it's simple. It's not very complicated, and anybody can use it. So once you've done that, you can then use column N to put in that you've started the task. It's 50% complete, or 25% complete, or 40% complete. Then you've got this, which is 100% complete, and it will keep updating every section based on the completion for those tasks. So just remember that anytime you enter the task over here, you need to enter the work days for it before it can be updated. If there are no work days, number of days that it's going to take to complete the task, these dates will not get calculated automatically. So now I can say that this is maybe dependent upon row 11, for example, and it would have a 2-day lag, and these dates will automatically get calculated once again. So let's say this is my task number 2, and mark the stages in this column. You can assign predecessors again, even if they belong to the previous section. I can put in 9 over here, and that means it's going to refer to row number 9, see when that ends, and then start the next work day. If there are holidays that we've added in the holiday section in the master sheet in the master data, it will then adjust the dates calculation from it. Once I've done that, I can click on my Gantt and select a weekly or a monthly Gantt for it. So weekly Gantt will also show weeks as well as the days. So the daily Gantt or the weekly Gantt are exactly the same thing. So I can select on weekly Gantt, click on refresh Gantt, and it will generate the Gantt chart for me. I can then go back and see what my Gantt chart would look like. So this can be refreshed from your main menu here as well. So if I was to change a date or maybe add more sections, so let's say another task 2.10 for example, and this task is going to take me 10 days to complete, it will automatically pick up the days, the date, whatever the first work day is after the 22nd of January, it will pick that up, add 10 more days to it. It will not count your Saturdays and Sundays, and it will also omit the days that you specified under the holidays tab. So once you've got that, I can click on my refresh Gantt and it refreshes the Gantt for me. So anytime you see a red dot at the start of the Gantt, that basically means that it is on a critical path, has a predecessor. It is dependent on another task being completed before this task can be started. The M, R, and H column, M is for milestones. So if I want to mark this task as a milestone, I can select M over here. If I want to highlight certain tasks of that task being at risk, I can mark that as R and it will highlight that for me. If I just want to highlight this task for my team so that they are careful of what this task is all about, I can select H and it will highlight that row for me. Also, if something is on a milestone and is at risk, I can select MR, which means milestone and risk. And if I want to select something that is on a milestone and I want to highlight it as well, I can select MH and it will highlight that for me. If I was to go and then click on refresh Gantt, it will then refresh the Gantt chart for me. Here's another key feature that you'll love. Let's say you're updating your Gantt chart for your project and you want to inform whoever the responsible person is for this task because it is at risk, and you want to send them an email. So you can select anywhere in that row and you can select anything. You don't have to put your cursor on the responsible person. You can have your cursor on that task. And if you click on email row, so this is my email that's open here. It's blank right now. And if I was to click on email row, it's gonna select this entire section and email that to me. So it happens so fast. You see that the email is already here. So if I click on it, I will have an email. I will have a link to the Google Sheet or the LeadGantt that it is, and it will have the email address of the person that you sent it to. It'll have a link to the sheet. It will also have a link to the actual task where it is. And so whatever details that I put in for that, if I would have put in description over there, that would have come up over here. So whatever details that I've got in here, they get emailed to that person. Let's look at linking Gantts. So basically what this feature allows you to do is roll up Gantts into one big Gantt chart that manages your entire all the different tasks and all the different checklists that you might have. So say for example, this is the main sheet that I'm running for my projects. However, I've got various other Gantt chart, and these are more detailed Gantt charts for different checklists that I've got to run in order to do a specific task. However, those tasks have their own start dates and end dates and their Gantt charts. Now, what I basically want to do is say that, look, this demo 1, task 1 is actually part of this main project. So again, just like where we said where we could add different rows, we need to have a cursor where we want it to be. So if I put my cursor right here and I say link Gantt, And what it is going to do is open up a window for me so that I can actually link this Gantt over here. So I'm just going to copy the name of this this sheet that I want to link over here, and I'm going to click on Link Gantt. It'll open up my Google Drive for me. I can simply just copy paste this thing and search for it in my Google Drive. That's my sheet, and I'm going to select that. And what it's going to do is automatically link that over here. So it's got the name of the LeadGantt demo 1, and it's linked to your baseline in your other sheet. And let's say if this was closed and you were only keeping an eye on this, you can actually launch the sheet automatically from that section very easily and make your updates in here. So, and it'll also bring in dates for whatever the start date was, whatever the end date was in there. So if I was to update this for, let's say I'm here and I am just going to open that sheet again so I can make updates. These things cannot be updated from this section. They are basically bring all these details are linked. So the sections that I have in there, so let's say I had section 1, section 2, and I want to make those changes. I want to mark this as complete as 100%, mark that as 100%. Because this is baseline, I haven't started my project as yet. I can still go to add-on, LeadGantt start, and I can quickly add another section to it. So we'll add another section to it and we'll call it Demo 1 Task 3. Now when I come back here, all I have to do is select where I am, which is the Link Gantt, and I'm just going to click on Update. What it's going to do is actually pull in the details, pull in the tasks for it. Oops, we forgot to change the task to task number 3. I'm going to do that. Go back in here and go Update again, and you'll see that it will update wherever I had those details. So let's say I accidentally added it at the wrong place, so I can select all of that, right click on this and go delete rows. Then I can bring that over here, copy the name once again so I can quickly search that in Google Drive and click on Link Gantt one more time, paste the name of the sheet that I want to link. And if I can't read it, I'll put it like that so I can linking the correct sheet, and it will move that over here. So that's how easy it is to actually link and get the RollUp dates into the sheet. Now those dates will be accounted for in your start date and your end date. So this row at the top are your main details. This is where you put in your project details so that you've got those details over here. So it's as simple as that. And if I was to then go back and click on, I should have clicked it over there, but if let's say I click on refresh Gantt, my entire Gantt would be refreshed for me, and it'll have the details not only for what I've got here, but also it'll bring in the Gantt from the other sheet that we've just linked to it. Now this doesn't stop here. If I put my cursor over here and then add another section for, let's say, 15 rows, it'll automatically add that below whichever section that I've selected, it'll add that below that. So that's how easy it is to use this. The next thing we can do is, let's say we are now ready, everything is great, we'll just call that task number 4. We'll quickly add the number of days over here, and as we add the number of days, you'll see that the dates will get updated automatically in there. So once this is done and I want to start my project, all I have to do is click on Start Project. Now notice that we've got a sheet over here that's linked to the sheet, and I could have more than one sheet linked to my main project Gantt chart, my project lead Gantt. So when I click on Start Project, we are at baseline on both the projects over here. So what we want to make sure is that when we start the project, it's going to give us an option to start the project in the linked Lead Gantts as well. So if I click on Start Project, this will give me an option. It will ask me that this will start project in LeadGantt Demo 1. And all I have to do is select on Yes. And what it will do then is lock my baseline sheet, create another sheet for me called the actual sheet, and it'll be exactly the same thing. Now this is because this is a little bit different because we now have a start variance, end variance, and the workday variance section over here. So what we want to do is make sure that now when we click on this thing and go here, you'll notice that in the sheet that we linked, that also now has an actual sheet and the baseline has been locked. So this is a really cool feature. And once we start our project, we can then start making changes to start getting details about our start variance, end variance. But this is your section for baseline versus actual. So let's say instead of 4th of January, this was supposed to start on 4th of January, but it actually ended up starting on 19th of January. It's going to adjust all the dates from that point on, and we'll start calculating the start variance, the end variance, and the workday variance. So workday variance hasn't changed because it still took us 1 day to complete it, but it was a late start. But if I was to say, look, this instead of taking 1 day, this now took us 6 days and 6 work days, it is then going to start making these calculations and give us the number of days that it took more than what we had before. So because we had 1 day already accounted for and now the total is 6, that means there were 5 more days, and we've got that, there's a variance of 5 work days. And negative basically means a late start, and a positive number would actually mean that it's an early start. So if I was to go here and our initial date was, let's say 5, but this started on the 31st of December, for example, that number is going to become positive and will let me know that this started 4 days before it was actually scheduled to do. However, the end date was the same, and it's got 6 days. And the work days, so it'll tell me there's a variance of negative 4 days over here, and we've got a workday variance on this section. Similarly for this, if I want to make changes to the connected sheet, I can just go to the connected sheet. However, now all my changes have to happen in the actual sheet. And over here, I can say that instead of 8th of January, this is going to start on 18th of January. And now when I come back in here and go into my Lead Gantt section and I click on update, this is going to update and bring in the details for the linked sheet as well over here with the new dates in there. On the Gantt chart side, we'll see that in the actual sheet, you'll see all these little dash marks in the that are represented here on the Gantt chart side. And what that actually does is that these dashes represent the start date and the end date that you had set up in the baseline. So this is to show you that in our baseline sheet, this was supposed to start on this date and finish over here. Whereas on in the actual sheet, your project or that task actually started at this point and finished at that point. So in our example that I was just discussing, where we changed the date and when we started 4 days earlier, you'll notice that over here we've got, this was where we were supposed to start, but we actually ended up starting here and then finished right over here. So the dashes that you actually see in the actual sheet, they represent the start date and the end date that we had you had set up in the baseline sheet. Okay, so one of the last features that we have here is the actual reminder section. So the column I and column J are for reminders, and they're super easy to set up. They do, however, come with a contingency. So I'll explain the contingency in a second. In order to set up a reminder for something like this, let's say we go and select the bell icon. You just select the bell icon, and what that is going to do is give you a pop-up window where you can select 1 day or 2 days before the start date. So whatever you have in your start date or the end date. So I want to set it up before the end date, and or you can select a date on the calendar as a manual selection. What it is going to do is that on that date or 2 days before that date at 8 o'clock in the morning, it is going to, based on the time that you've got selected in your Google Sheet as under your sheet settings, it'll send that entire row, just like it sends the email row section. It will be sent to either to the person who is actually in the responsible section. Now you can select the CC reminder to the owner of the sheet, or you can select CC reminders to everybody. So what it is going to do, it is actually going to send it to Ravi, for example, or in this section to Ravi, but it is also going to CC that reminder to everyone. So as we had, I'll just cancel that out and close this thing. So if we were to see our Gmail sheet, so the same kind of reminder would be sent, like this would be sent at 8 o'clock in the morning with the project details and links to the sheet, and it will be sent to the person responsible. So if I was to set up another reminder on this section, I just have to select the bell icon and say that I want to send 2 days before the end date, and I want to CC to everybody. That means whoever you've set up as a shared, I just have to press OK, and it will be set up, and you'll see the date over here. You can, however, select all of that and press the delete button. That will just delete that reminder. If for whatever reason it fails to fire, you will see a cross section over here. If the reminder has been set, it'll give you the tick mark. In order to disable the reminder, you can select the bell icon with a red line slash across it, or you can simply delete it and the reminder would be taken off. So once this is set up, what you have to remember with this thing is that one of the limitations for this, and it is not the limitation in the way we've set it up, it's the limitation with Google Sheets, because it apparently has a bug. You have to make sure that you're only logged into one account. If you've got more than one Gmail account or a G Suite account, this will not fire, because when it is time for the trigger to kick in and send the reminder, it will not be able to determine which email address to use in order to send that reminder. I hope you like LeadGantt. There's a 14-day free trial. If you don't know where to go, there's a link in the description. You can sign up there, try it on for 14 days and see how it goes. If you like it, you can subscribe to it, and I hope you enjoy it.